That's fun.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, that works nice.
Yay.
Oh. Got my first tattoo from here. Music wasn't even on my mind. I was just like, I think I was getting out of a breakup, and I was just like, I'll be gonna fucking tattoo on my arm. And like, it was a weird time, but I think in response to that, that's sort of when I finally decided in life, I was like, I wanna do what I want now. Music was that.
What was the first like instance that made you feel like, oh, like I should try out this music thing?
Growing up, I always wanted to do music. Like I started playing the drums, and even in like school, we make little compositions on the school computers or like garage band and shit like that. It's always something that I wanted to do, but I just assumed I couldn't do. And I even applied to music school, and before like I could even like get anything out there, my parents just shut it down right away. It was always in the back of my mind, and like I always liked playing instruments. It was about a little over a year ago where I decided that after going to this concert, I was just like, that's where I want to be in life. Like I want to be up on a stage performing for people. That energy that was like that guy was just giving out was sort of just all I wanted. I spent like probably 3 or 4 months after that concert just trying to figure out how to play guitar. Like I could barely play like 4 chords before that. So I just locked myself in my room and just played like 4 or 5 hours a day. I'd go to work, come back, play guitar, and just repeat. And my old roommate at the time, like poor guy, like he was just listening to me to play like the worst guitar ever. When I realized moving around to Brooklyn and meeting all these other musicians in these music spaces, I sort of stopped writing music and just started playing what other people were playing and all these different styles. And expanding like how I played my guitar. You should always like chase a rival almost, and you have to just keep evolving that to get better.
Right.
So like I meet all these people at these live shows, and I think I'm good until I go see them play, and I'm like, holy fuck, they're really good. And I'll go home and practice for like 4 weeks and still not be that good. But I get better, and like each time I get better and I go back to these shows, I realize like I'm catching up. And I think it's healthy to have like to realize someone else is way better than you, and you should really like strive for that shit. Like I always pick out somebody from like a local scene that I go to see a lot, and I'm like I have to be better than them. Yeah. It's probably like a bad way to think, and you shouldn't be so comparative. But I like it because it makes me push myself a little harder. And eventually, like you want to rival yourself to like your heroes. That's like the end goal. Like once you can get close enough to that. I would just like borrow little techniques from everybody and mix it up my own way, and then that's sort of how this new sound came about.
Nice.
So it's a little punk, a little indie, it's a little R&B still. It's finally what I want to put out for myself.
So tell me about the first time you made like a song or a piece of music and you listened to it and you were like telling yourself, yeah, this is good, I like this.
I mean, I actually played you the demo for it the last time you did a tattoo for me, and it's like my second song I put out on Spotify called Pains. It sort of tells like a weird story of just like how, different injuries and bodily pain made me an angry person in a relationship, and how that, affects people aside from myself. It's still hard to put like a label on the genre. It's just a mix of different things, and especially like throughout the EP I'm putting out soon. Every song kind of differs pretty drastically. It's like a digressed version of just like being able to push different genres together, and that was sort of his thing. I went a little bit more moody with punk tones. I just had to come up with all these weird production techniques to make everything a little more interesting and weird. So like, I like to think of it as like ability through inability. Like, you're not very good at something, so you have to find a workaround, and sometimes that becomes cooler. I think one of the most important things I've learned, especially doing music and art in any way, is like, show your friends, have your friends listen to it, work with other people as much as you can, because like a long period of time I spent just doing all the music stuff on my own in my room, and it wasn't really until I branched out to meet with other musicians and work with other people that I realized like you could do things in slightly different ways. So like my favorite thing is in this music thing is I made so many cool new friends. Like, I'm really happy with that.
How do you think your new EP has grown from the music that you've made?
It was originally like a very much a breakup album, and it's still titled as a breakup album, and it feels like a breakup album. So like a lot of it was just me being very upset at this person and very angry. I've been writing this for over a year almost. So like it's been like a nice process of letting go, and like this music was like my closure for the whole thing.
Okay.
It's like this whole EP really. It's a little petty still. The EP is called May This Love Never Find You.
Right.
You meet new people and like you learn to let go of this kind of shit. That doesn't mean the memories and feelings aren't there. So getting it out through music like this helped me like grow a lot. Each song, actually, I'm probably gonna track it by almost like chronological order of how I made a lot of these songs, and you'd be able to kind of tell.
Okay.
I'm a little, a little less of an asshole towards the end. Yeah, it's been like a weird, like self-reflection process, and I feel like that's how a lot of musicians work their emotions out. I'm happy with it, I'm happy
good.
like that process has helped me.
I know that obviously both of our parents have a very like conventional idea of what a career is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're kind of on a flowing journey where you're constantly working and creating new things, how do you feel about the lack of support you had at the beginning versus now that like you're creating something for yourself?
I'm pretty sure at the very beginning we just weren't talking again. We're at that sort of phase where like, they're sort of patient enough with me trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I think they just didn't want it to be music. Mm-hmm. Yeah, once I told them like, hey, I'm doing this music thing, they're like, oh fuck, like oh no. It wasn't until like I just started sending over all the songs and like on like a weekly basis almost.
Nice.
Like just to really like show them that I'm putting in a lot of work towards it. The nicest thing they said is like, it doesn't suck. I never really gave that big a shit about what my family thought after a certain point. Like I let it haunt me for years and years and years, and then like. At one point, you just have to decide things for yourself, and like, shit's gonna be like uncomfortable and hard, and you have to face them eventually. But I also took like just a couple months off and just talking to anybody in my family until I felt like, I'm for sure doing this, and I'm confident to present it to them. Luckily, that turned out to be the case. If not, I would have had to go to them and be like, my fucking bad. This is something I was trying out, and they'll probably be like, I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
Now go back to school, and I'm just like,
Right.
Oh, remember this person's kid? He's a fucking doctor now.
Right.
Remember his little brother was like 3 years younger than you? He's a doctor too. I'm just like, damn.
Have you received support from somebody that you didn't expect to receive support from?
Every once in a while, I'll put some like little snippet of music out on Instagram, and somebody who I haven't spoken to in like 10 fucking years will reach out and be like, yo, this is the sickest shit ever. I'm just like, thank you, dude. Like, where have you been? And like, it feels really nice that like all these people that I knew from back home that didn't even know me from music or anything are really happy and really supportive of this kind of stuff. Even my closest friends, I love them so much. They don't always listen to that shit right when it comes out, but they'll listen eventually, and then they'll eventually be like, yo man, this is great. I'm like, thank you. It came out like 4 months ago.
Right.
I appreciate it. I'm sort of just making this EP for myself to get like my name out there. Like a portfolio of like the stuff truest to like my tone of music, rather than stuff that I make that I know will just be a little better received, even though it doesn't feel like myself. Of course you want like the audience to really like what you make and like really think how you think, but that can never really be the case.
Is performing live something you enjoy doing?
When you do live shows, I don't even see past the stage, I'm not gonna lie. Like, my eyes just darken everything out. So a lot of it I guess is just like, doing it to see if I can get through it myself. The live stuff is still gonna be really new to me. I've done it only a handful of times, and like I get nervous. All the stuff I've made is so new and recent. Nothing's really polished yet, but people like it, and like even my like the times I performed and I felt like I really bombed, I'll have people come up after the show and ask me like, can I get your contact? I want to work with you on this and that. If you ever need this and this, and they come up and like are so sweet, and they offer all these little things and like bits of help. That's just so nice, That's like the validation I look for, really. Like I go to a lot of my friends' shows, especially this band called Warpole. I always help them carry their equipment in and out. And I remember this one moment where I was carrying their like a bunch of equipment with them through the crowd, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, the band's here!" They're like surrounding them while we like get up on stage. And I was like, "That's like a feeling I really want for my own stuff." So that's like what you strive for. It's like it's just the energy is just so like amazing, and like people are there to like really listen to your music. One time I performed really drunk, and it was really bad. And it was like, I do not remember most of it, but like right afterwards, it's like, you could tell the people who were like, dude was really drunk and was like having a hard time, but they were so nice, and they're like, I really like this part, and they really like, you could tell they listened to it, because they're really like being specific about the certain parts they like, It was really funny actually. Like I was like sweating the whole time, and these guys were so chill about it. It made me learn to be a lot more humble about my ability and where I stand, and I should also never drink before performing.
Have you performed any of your EPs live yet?
I've done like snippets and small songs. I'm very excited to play this live. I need like 2 to 3 extra guitars to pull it off properly.
Okay.
And finding a drummer is always impossible, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like it's gonna be a very technical set.
So let's say, right, you drop your EP and you get to perform it live, and you have to build your dream audience. What's some types of people that you would want to be present in the audience?
Everybody, guys and girls, have to have micro bangs.
You want people with micro bangs?
Yep. Let's keep it pretty POC. That'd be a lot more fun for me, to be honest.
Nice.
And then that'd be sort of dream audience. Like you see these kind of shows out here in like parts of Brooklyn, and then even at like I've gone to a few shows out in the Bronx. It's a lot more fun out there. People really move and dance and they're having a good time. I don't know how, but I want to incorporate a mosh pit into my music.
Okay.
My shit isn't that hard, but it'll be really fun to have a mosh pit. Like, I've been punched out. I'm fucking like I have so many bruises on my body from mosh pits, and I want that in my show. I want people to get a little hurt, but like having a good time.
I see.
Honestly, perfect audience is just like the bunch of people I go to see shows with, or show up to all the shows that I go to watch. Over time, I've just like learned all these people's names, and like I see all the regulars that I never usually hang out with, other than have their contacts, but they're always there. We always have a good time together. I just love for those people to show up.
You said your new music is about the process of like finding closure. Do you want other people to also use your music as a source of strength for the closure that they're trying to find as well?
I think to a degree. I mean, it's more self-therapy for myself because I know what the lyrics are about. Other people may not be able to pick it up quite as easily.
Okay.
I just want them to have a good time and feel the music. Because a lot of it's just really like production heavy. It's about like the actual instrumental. But it'd be nice if some people could find that. Like I've had like 2 or 3 friends who listen to some of the songs say like, hey, like, you know, this part really makes me sad and think about this, and I'm just like, that's the point, man. Eventually I want the songwriting and lyricism to be a lot more in-depth, but I think that just comes with like experience in life and being able to process it. Art is like a reflection of like a lot of artists' like lifestyles or experiences, and until you get like the whole picture of it, you might be producing something that like, you know, that's half-assed. I think what took me why this album took so long is I just had to sit down for a long time and realize, you know, what's like the core root of all of this kind of shit. You know, what is the song actually about? I'll take my time with the writing process for the lyrics. I made a lot of the instrumentals in the past before, and I sort of cannibalize old songs and push them together until they sort of sound like something. And then I'll throw old lyrics or new lyrics and mix them all up together. Like, don't fucking delete anything you make, no matter how shit it is, because you might come back to like a little small part of it someday and like bring it back. So like a lot of these newer songs, just like old songs that I piece together or have like a small little idea from, even if it's just like, or a lot of them will be like verses from old songs and little bits of lyrics from here and there, and I'll mix them all together and then add new ones.
So in the process of like recycling things, cannibalizing old songs, taking things from the past and putting them in your present music, do you think there are any like nuances or like specific emotions that you think you had when you were putting things from the past into your current music?
There'll be like a 10-minute period where I'm really emotional, writing it and trying to get in contact with all the old feelings and like reasons for why I write the song. But like then I'll go full into producer mode and just like completely cut off and just geek out over all the music detail instead. So like when I bring back old parts, it'll really just be like, oh man, no matter how sad the lyrics are, the rhythm of like the lyrics are so fucking cool. This will work so well on this. So like I really just get like really excited rather than like emotional. I really do geek out on like detailing and using all these little weird effects and stuff.
When people are listening to your EP, what are some details you want people to listen out for specifically?
I say like the panning. So like panning in like the production side it's basically like how much noise we allow out of the left or right earphone or speaker So like you'll hear more sounds coming out of the left ear and the right ear, and it basically simulates an environment of like a stage in front of you and how you hear things. So I pan my music with like very particular sharp details to the left or right ear. So you'll hear like a guitar run, like a weird little lick, bounce from the left ear to the right ear, and you'll almost feel it go through your brain to the right ear, like go through your head. And I spend like fucking hours doing that shit, just like splitting up like guitar tracks and detailing them so specifically for the panning. I've had friends help produce and mix and sound engineer little parts of my songs. They fucking hate it when I have to do that, because like I tell them like, okay, we're gonna sit here for like 5 hours and like pan the fuck out of this shit and like split up all the detail. And it can get so messy so quickly, but I've figured out like a system for it. I guess a lot of the EP is characterized by like, I use a lot of reverse guitar tracks, so like I'll just flip a track so it becomes like an ethereal sounding like synthesizer, but it was just the guitar before. So I'll say like that's probably like those two details are the most recognizable thing for the whole EP.
Okay.
Because like the genres sort of switch up a little bit, the tone and energy switches up a lot.
Right.
It almost sounds like each song's going along like the lines of a different genre or like subgenres even. But you can very much tell it's by me because of those two main details. And then like we're just like doing very small little things that wouldn't really catch on their own, but they mix all together to sound like one thing.
Do you have any words of advice for anybody who's going through a heartbreak and is listening to your new music?
Get busy, you know, find something to work on, whether it's like your own career on anything. And like just like surround yourself with your friends, and also like checking on your friends too, like be like, you know, please don't hate me, like I'm gonna be a whiny bitch for like a good 6 months. But if they're there for you, that's amazing. Like I have a bunch of friends right now, all going through breakups, and they're, you know, 6 months ago I was like whining to them, and they're like, oh, Joe, you just grow up and shit. And now they're like, Joe, I'm so sad, and it's like, you just be there for them, and it's so fun when you guys are all kind of going through it in similar ways, or like at least you understand where they're coming from, and then you can be nice to them, just be there for them. It's just like, it's weird, like I've had some of my closest friends who are really there for me, who have never been in relationships, so like after a while they're like, okay Joe, you're over it yet? And it's like, yeah, sure. They'd be like, sweet my guy, good job.
Yeah.
And then I have like older friends who are like, you know, who've lived life, and they're like, man, shit never gets better, you just have to learn how to get through it, you know. I'm just like, damn, is this what it's gonna be? And then you meet another person, they're like, you know, live and learn, don't take it too seriously. I think I like that last one the best, you know.